I think people look at us and think that we can turn anybody into influencer.
Yeah.
But we always tell our girls all the time, you need to want this first.
100%.
You need to be passionate
Say
about
that
it
again.
first.
Yo, my people, it's your boy Trist Rap City. I am back with another episode of the Brand Therapy Podcast where we discuss business, brands, and experiences in a therapeutic fashion. So, this week, guys, I'm back in Dubai. As some of you may or may not know, it is now my new home. We're actually in my new home. How did you look like?
This is very high.
It's very high.
It's very high.
Anyway, so you lot might not know who these two are, so I'm going to go through and introduce them in the way that I think they deserve it. So as you guys know, I only have people on my show that are people that, number one, I would have a conversation with outside of the settings of being on a podcast. Number two, people that I rate or respect their journey. And number three, people that I think can give a lot of gems for you guys to actually take from and apply it to your lives and hopefully help you guys level up. So we have 2 out of 3 of the CEOs of I want you guys to describe what VAMP is. So who wants to?
Wait, first of all, before we do that, CEOs is so funny. 3 CEOs in one business, that's actually funny. But
that is actually funny, and I don't know why I'm saying that. How would you guys describe VAMP?
So we call ourselves a social marketing agency, which kind of covers everything, but we're split into 2. One side of the business is services, so we're like kind of typical marketing agency, but we do different things. So we've got PR. We do influencer activations, events, and consultancy, all under the umbrella of making sure that brands are reaching the Black British audience authentically. So that's on one side. And then the other side is we're a talent management agency. So we currently manage 5 influencers exclusively, and then we also have a roster of talent that we manage and work with. So if we've got brand projects from the other side, we can tap into that roster and bring them work.
So it's like a 360 powerhouse, basically.
Yeah.
You can do everything in-house. All right, so what I want to do, I want to go back to the core, because I feel like where I saw VAMP probably was I'd say about 3 years ago, but I know that it's older than that. Yeah.
Just a tad.
Like 2016?
2017.
It's when we like
2017.
officially founded it, but we started a tiny bit before then, so yeah.
All right, so firstly, something I always start off with is why I have you guys on the show. And from my point of view, number one, I'm massively inspired by what you guys have done, always have been. Like, it even was a big part of why I started Brand Therapists in the first place. Because I think, definitely love the fact that it is very solely focused on our people, number one. Number two, I think that you do it so it comes across so effortless. Like, you lot don't seem like you're forcing anything, you're not doing the most, you're not in everyone's faces. You kind of let your roster do the talking, and you kind of let your events do the talking. I think the first time that I came into real contact with you guys was when I came to the Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Before the basketball.
Oh yeah, the
No,
basketball was you guys as well.
Yeah. No, so I worked with Dial.
It wasn't a VAMP project though.
No, it was kind of me working with Dial and that.
Yeah, that was before Spider-Man. Yeah, that was early. So and what I noticed at that is, well, with that as well as obviously other content you've got, is you're very well connected. There's definitely obviously respect amongst the people that you work with. You pull in the numbers, like people we've got a large following. And yeah, I just think even the name got me as well. Like, I always thought, like, why VAMP? Like,
Do you know what? This is funny. Do you know what? You know
Alright,
why?
go on, yeah, start with VAMP.
I'm called VAMP because of a lipstick colour.
Alright, wait, before anything, you haven't introduced us.
No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So, Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina. I sound like a horse right now because my voice is going.
Sorry.
Ruby.
I'm Ruby. So I don't have anything to add. Like
within the business, do you have different roles?
Yeah, okay, so yeah.
Go on.
I'm head of PR, Tina's head of strategy, and then Rimby is head of social.
Okay, so go on, VAMP. So it was named after a lip colour?
Yeah, so basically we had the idea of the company before we even had the name. So the reason why the company came about was because me and Ruby were both interning at companies, at big companies.
Okay.
And we always used to, me, Ruby and Ruby at uni, we always used to help people and like come up with ideas. We were ACS.
What did you study?
Business. So I studied business studies.
Me and Ruby studied media communication.
They were in the same class.
Okay.
So we're always doing stuff. Me and Tina are part of ACS. So we're always doing events, always doing projects. The 3 of us were all kind of individually and sometimes together, like helping people with their brand stuff, just by chance. And we were also managing Mariam. then. We just decided to manage her randomly.
So what stage was she at?
No, we told her to start YouTube.
Oh,
so yeah, so she hadn't. She was just like one of those girls at uni, bare makeup.
Oh, she went to uni as well.
Oh yeah, she went to uni.
Yeah, so that's why with Mariam, it's a bit different because we are actually real friends.
We're friends, like
we started
before
on
everything.
the ground together.
Yeah. So like we were like, man, people always ask you to do their makeup. People always ask you about your makeup because she'd come to uni like full face.
Pink blazer.
Pink blazer. Like this is before people even started wearing makeup the way they wear it now. Like she was like one of the first people.
Like big curls, she'd always
all of that. So we were like, man, you need to start YouTube. And this was again like at the beginning of YouTube. Like there was literally like 2 or 3 black YouTubers on YouTube at the time.
Serious?
Like in the UK, like literally like 2.
There probably were loads of obviously white YouTubers.
Yeah, but
black ones.
2 or 3 at the time. So we're like, man, start YouTube, and it just did really well. And so we decided to manage her. Had no idea how to manage anyone. Nothing. We didn't even know what we were gonna do with it. But yeah,
I think what happened was a lot of the time we would get emails from brands about working with Mariam, and we'd always come up with ideas that are bigger than what they've done. So they'd be like, oh, can Mariam do this? And we'd be like, oh, how about they do this? Then we started thinking, we actually need to, if we're going to come up with the ideas for them, why not make an agency that provides that service that comes up with more than just the managing what the influencer's doing. You know?
So you went from there to, so at uni, was it decided it was going to be a full-fledged company?
So we were at, well, let me tell you the story, how VAMP proper started.
Yeah.
So I interned at Canon, the camera company, because I did a year placement. And then I moved on to Google, and Ruby interned at Universal Pictures. Then I moved on to Google after for like 3-4 months. And at that time, me and Ruby were in the same building. So in Tottenham Court Road. Yeah. So imagine being in the same building as your friend. I used to bring her upstairs. I used to bring her upstairs to get food because everybody knows. I used to bring her down for screenings. So like, just bands. And then I think I just realised while I was working for both companies that there just wasn't targeted enough black people, and they think that I'm so fabulous, like, you know how they are, you're so fabulous. And I used to think like, there's so many other amazing black women out there who are inspiring. I'm inspired by I'm being influenced by other black women, so shouldn't you think that there's a lot of other black women that are being influenced by that person as well? Do you know what I mean? I just think there was a disconnect, big disconnect. And I think I emailed them, Ruby and Rumby, emailed them both, and I was just like, guys, I think we need to start a business. That's it.
So but even then, we didn't even really know what it was going to be. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. It was over time we realised what was missing in the market. At the beginning, our first clients were people who needed help on socials. So again, even then, like, social was still kind of like in its early stages. Like it was nowhere how it is now. So we were definitely doing more social stuff. But then along the way, we were like, this isn't our passion. We just don't feel like this is us. And so I think it was very early on that we realised we need to go back to what Tina was saying of like, it's that market, like black women or black British people, like targeting them. What can we do to target them? Because we know brands aren't. So when Tina was at Google, she'd do loads of projects. Like you do projects on your own, innit? Working on like black British culture or just culture in general. And she'd do it and they leave her to it. She'd be really good at it. Whereas me, I was working in the marketing and PR department, and this was really early YouTube stages. So we used to send YouTubers to the US to interview the cast for films and stuff, and I'd always noticed there was never black people. So I put forward black YouTubers that I know, they never get accepted, and it used to really frustrate me. I'd make lists and everything, it was always just like, oh, thanks Phoebe, and it used to really, really annoy me. So I think the combination of those two things, we were like, there's something missing, we can do something with this.
To jump in there, like one thing that I've realised, and I'm definitely disconnected mainly because being a male and just not paying as much attention as I should, is how much, like how many things go on within the social industry that are actually unfair to black women. So like there's this page which is called Social Pay Gap.
Yeah, the influencer pay gap.
And that's obviously begun high. Like that's probably the first time that's come to my attention. But I didn't realise like how much of a difference that someone who's a black influencer compared to like and is that from you? You guys are in the know a lot more than me. Like
it's 100% true. And the thing is, like a lot of people try to put it down a bit, and someone tried to say, why don't people push more for what they want? It's not that easy. Like Nella Rose said this the other day. That there's like a cap when you're a black influencer. Like you can only get so big, and you can only ask for so much. Your engagement could be better than being like a normal white influencer or a normal kind of everyday one. But it's like there's a glass ceiling. Like there's certain that you can't.
Or they won't let you.
They won't let you get more than that. Do you know what I mean? And it's. But I think the Black Lives Matter movement that happened really has made things better because I think brands were just being so.
Do you think that will last?
Even if it doesn't last, I think it's going to be in their brain more than it was before. It would just be us and a few people saying it. Whereas now, even if people just keep talking about it for just this year, we would have had 6-7 months of people banging on about it, and it'll be in their brain, and it will just take maybe the one person to really blast them for them to be like, oh, okay, let's go back to thinking correctly.
And also, I feel like with us, because we've been blasting brands for a while, with this one, like. No, emails. Like,
we'll tell them we'll stop working with them.
We blasted a big brand about not posting black women before. Like a big brand, trust me. They blasted, they aired us.
And then, so we won't have the girls work with certain brands if their ethos is.
So, alright, so to stay on because there's so many different sides to the business, there's another side I want to go on to, but to stay on the influencer side of things, what's your views on like influencers coming in and really growing a brand but not having their own? So what I mean by that is that you could get, let's say for example, Mariam comes in, works with this brand, takes them to a certain level, because let's be honest, we have the power to do that within our culture, but is always part of that brand and doesn't necessarily have their own. Because something I noticed that you guys have done, which I'm assuming is you guys, is you've now kind of given her own angle with I Saw It First, her own ownership, her own kind of brand underneath that. Was that intentional because of what I said?
It was an edit, so it is us going to the brand
and partnering.
Like, yeah, kind of it's not really partnering, because it's more of like a lot of influencers has been doing it recently. Even big brands, like everyone's seen how important a partnership is. You've been seeing these huge brands like Supreme collaborate with like Louis Vuitton. Like you've been seeing all these kind of. I think Timberland did a collab with Tiffany or something the other day. Like that's back 10 years ago. That could never run. Brands don't chill with each other like that, you know what I mean? But I think that there's been this resurgence in marketing about how important a partnership is, and I think that's in influencing as well. Like a brand is huge, Pretty Little Thing, they bang it. They just did something with, I think, have they not done something with Gunna recently, or was it Quavo? Did something with Mayweather. And they did something with Mayweather as well. Big did something with Mayweather, and I think they've realised that like, partnering with an influencer who has such a big audience, even if it's like they have to pay them a mad amount up front, the return will always be lit. And also the brand loyalty, all those people that didn't know about that brand before, they will know about it now.
I agree that will happen, but you see, for me, one thing that I think, like, when I look at like influencers, for example, like I'm so careful to make sure that you are building something for yourself outside.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, especially fashion influencers, because it's like we're wearing all these other brands, and then realistically, all the brands got to do is go, we don't want to work with you anymore.
Yeah, but it's true, because I think that's what, going back to your first question, I think having a brand is really, really important. I think maybe when you're growing or when you're first coming up, it's fine to align yourself with the brand, because, for example, with Mariam, it was very early on, like, we built a really good relationship with them. They were very supportive of her, and she genuinely loved the clothes. So without asking, she would just post about them, she'd be talking about them. She really, really loved their style. And so with her, it was very much like, it made sense putting them together, because it was like, when people see I Saw It First, they think of Mariam. When they think of Mariam, they think of I Saw It First. So that's definitely a good place to be in. It's not a bad place.
It makes sense on both sides.
Exactly. But on the flip side of that, you could say you don't want to be like that forever, because it will definitely catch you.
Yes, 100%.
But then the thing, I think on the back end kind of data side, when you do collaborations with brands, you can measure things without having to invest.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you see the numbers, you see the units that are being sold.
It's like working with a label for an artist,
And you see what kind of marketing works for you, what didn't work for you, what you need to do and stuff, and then you kind of mirror that if you do your own brand.
If you do your own, exactly. So I definitely, if anyone is trying to work out whether it makes sense, 100%, the brand have the capital, they have the marketing to push you out there, why not? And then if you want to do your own thing and build your own brand later, you have something to work on. So definitely. What's
your guys' selection process as to who? Obviously Mariam was day one, but what everyone else has come since then, why do you pick them? What's your angle been?
So, do you want to go?
No, I was just going to say who we have on our roster. So
let's go through go on.
So we have Mariam Musa, we have Nella Rose, we have Esther Falana, we have Elena, and we also have Lisa Mapsy. So there are 5 exclusive girls that we have that we manage, and we also have a network of influencers. But right now we're actually building our network, which Ruby's been working on. So Ruby's not here, which is sad, but Ruby and Ruby have been working hard on that. So
basically what we're doing is we constantly get people asking, like, oh, can you manage us? And it's been really difficult recently, because we get a lot of requests, and it's so hard, because you don't want to say, well, we have to say no, because we haven't got the capacity, number one. But number two, I think people are assuming that it's just, oh, you have to have a following and then we'll take you on, and it's not like that. It's not even just about the criteria. It's also like we consider ourselves a family.
Yeah.
Like we're not just gonna have anyone just come in.
100% our family, just to cut you there. You lot are 100%. Like experiencing Dubai with you lot, like I was even saying to Jimbo, like you lot are 100% a family. Like I've worked with other agencies before, and you can feel like those two are friends there, and those two are, do you know what I mean? Whereas you lot are proper like a family.
We are, and that's really important to us, and we don't want anything to like jeopardize or compromise that. So I think that's something I really want to push, that people need to realize that it's not just, oh, you contact us or we contact you as well. We need to build a relationship over time. So what we're doing now in terms of selection is, no one can be a VAMP exclusive influencer without going through certain steps. So you'd have to be part of our network first, and to be part of our network, you just need to have 10K, really good engagement, obviously like a nice mix of content. You kind of hopefully know what you want, or at least ish, so we can help you with that, and we'll help you build that. So that's like one level, and then the next level is people that we work with constantly. So if you've done really well on that level, we'll hopefully bring you to the next level. And so that means that when we have campaigns, we've got budgets, we can be like, oh yeah, that person's really good for this, let's bring them in.
And that's non-exclusive? That's
non-exclusive, exactly. So we have influencers who, they manage themselves, but sometimes they're really busy and they're like, oh guys, can you handle this for me? So it's non-exclusive, but we can help with them with a few things, and they're always, you know, in our minds if we're pitching any of our girls for stuff. So working with those girls is really important. And that means that we would hope that they'll become an exclusive influencer at some point in time in the near future. But there is still a criteria they need to meet to get to be a VAMP exclusive influencer. But again, going back to my earlier point, we're a small team. There's 3 of us that founded it, and then we've also got a junior exec, Layla. So there's only 4 of us. And we've got the 5 girls, plus the network, plus the projects that we work on. So when we get the requests, it's so hard. We wish we could be like to people, like, look, I wish you could see like who we are in their capacity. We just don't have the time. So you know, next year we're hoping to employ some more people so that we can take on more people. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, Corona, I missed things.
Corona ruined it.
Correct.
Jeez,
we were hoping to have at least 2 to 3 more people by the end of this year. It's looking like 1 more person by the end of this year, and then we'll re-evaluate for next year. But of course, with more people, we could do more. But because we're so limited, we have to even be more like.
But then what we've kind of done to combat that is like, because they're working on the VAMP network, I'm working on us holding more workshops and classes with people. So it's not a thing where I think.
What kind of workshops and classes?
So like how to be an influencer 101, how to get brand deals, how to get this, how to that. Well. Yeah, I want to start doing that.
Is there a reason that it's focused on females?
Yeah.
That's obviously intentional, right? You're not open to.
No, but we have some like
we've got some guys in our network,
who are in our network, and also who like we support.
But so we've worked on campaigns, loads of campaigns, paid. We've worked on campaigns sending like people to the US for premieres, and they've been guys, so we don't discriminate.
Yeah, it's just, I do think that there could be more black male influencers, but there's a pride thing there. Sometimes women are more open to doing things.
More things.
Men, sometimes a lot of them care too much about what people have to say about what they're doing and their lifestyle.
100%. There's guys that have influence, have a great follow, great engagement, they're just not using it.
They're not using it, and I'm like, we can't, because I think people look at us and think that we can turn anybody into an influencer. But we always tell our girls all the time, you need to want this first.
100%.
You need to be passionate
Say
about
that
it
again.
first. Yeah, you need to be passionate
100%.
about it first, and we're not your mum.
We're not your mum. Agency's not going to come along and just change your life.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then it's going to boost up what you're doing.
And at least the mindset needs to be like, I think there's a misconception, because we're a black-owned agency and obviously we're really for the culture. We want people to consider us the same way they would consider any of the big agencies. If you would never go to a big agency and say, I've got so-and-so amount of followers, I want to grow my following, I need you to help me. You would.
Some of the DMs that we got, I literally just check the DMs now.
Right.
The way people talk to us, it's
like casual and comfortable.
It's not even casual, but there's this, all I keep saying is misconception, because you would not go to.
They just think it's high, I need you to boss me.
And I will. It's not that. Like,
I think that's a very common thing. Like even just in my personal DMs, like since I've been doing content, I just get like, yo, bro, put me on.
Sure, why not?
Stop.
I mean, that's people think differently. But I think the way we will combat that is by making sure people understand the network.
What we do,
and also when we start doing our classes and stuff and our workshops, will help people that way, because then we can just send people the link.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about this because I am very, very interested in the process of that. Like just to slightly go on to like how you lot inspired what I was thinking about doing in the first place. For me, and this is where we're going to do the fun fact, because Christina was a big responsibility for this. For me, when I decided to start taking personal branding seriously, I started to realize that so many people didn't know how to actually personally brand themselves.
Yeah.
So then, as a byproduct of that and just doing content how I do it, I find that I have so many people that just, like, I've spoken to people that could be sick influencers and don't even know how to charge more than £100 for a post. Like, they don't know their value.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been a thing for me in life, generally, in and outside of marketing. Like, just allowing someone to realize, like, you're sick of this, you could be good at that.
Yeah.
100%. So I feel like seeing VAMP do that, for me was like, yeah, sick, because the people, I would say pretty much every single girl you've got, you lot brought them to my attention. I didn't actually know who they were aside of that. Other than Nella.
Nella.
So for that to be the case, I rate that. Because these are people that have already got big followings and big communities, but I've already found out about them via you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, and then seeing your events, which is something that I'm very intrigued by, like, how did we get to the position of like big movies launching and VAMP girls are responsible for, VAMP women are responsible for putting on an event? Like, how?
And do you know what? That's a funny story, because like we kind of fell into that, not by accident, but Ruby obviously worked for Universal Pictures. She interned there, so like she kind of knew the game, but she only worked for the like home entertainment. So that's when it goes to DVD or Blu-ray. That's what she didn't work with theatrical, which was like movies and stuff like that.
Completely different, but I had an understanding of how the
process
works. The process of like acquisition, how films come in. So it's so weird, but basically the agency had started. We were managing Mariam, we were managing a couple of other people, and we basically saw that Girls Trip was coming out, film Girls Trip. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was sitting on my bed, watched the trailer, I was like, oh my god, guys, look at this film. And I was like, hey, let me see what studio it is. It's Universal. Okay, great. Let me contact them and just see.
Yeah.
It comes out in like 6 weeks. I haven't seen much marketing from it except this little ad on Instagram.
Yeah.
Let's see. And you know how they normally treat black film. So you know,
like, and this was one of the very few black films that had come out in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself, bro, like I know everyone's gonna want to watch this film, but I've literally only seen this one ad, and it comes out in 6 weeks. Like, how is that possible? So yeah, we just contacted them and basically pitched ourselves. I pitched over the phone and was like, yeah, we're an agency, we manage black influencers and we've got a network. At that point, I don't think we even had that big of a network. Yeah. But it was like, we've got a network, and yeah,
it's more like we watch this girl on YouTube. We can probably message her, she'll probably reply.
Hopefully. So then we were like, like we'd love to help with the marketing. And she was like, oh my god, yeah, great, can you send me an email? We sent an email, sent some ideas, she loved it. Tina was like, right, let's not go through another email, let's go in for a meeting. So we went in for a meeting, the meeting went great. Halfway through the meeting, the woman was like, actually, do you know what, can you guys just handle the whole screening, the whole event?
Because at first she was like, you can do
have an allocation, like 20 seats.
So do they give you a budget then?
So yeah, well basically, she asked how much do we want to charge. She asked us in the room, and we just plucked the number out.
Oh, one of them ones. Early days as well, so it wasn't like.
To be fair, it was not bad though. No, it was not bad. I can't lie.
Yeah, but the problem was invoicing.
Yeah, we had to
invoice that after we did the event. No, it wasn't chasing. We like because we're new to this game. We were new to this game. We invoiced them after we did the event, so that's 30 days after. So when we're bleeding ourselves dry.
You see like one thing, because obviously we manage as with Diaz, and one thing that we've experienced with this invoicing, because that was new to me. Like my thing is just, yo bro, but the whole process of that and then having to chase up big brands was mental to me. Like I never understood why they wouldn't just be ready to go bam.
We like, because you've got to remember, because I'm the driving like finance person in our team, so I'm very much like, when that person books that deal with that influencer, they're moving on to the next project. They're now going to tell finance team, oh by the way, this person money. You sort it out for me, please. This person don't know who that person is. They don't know what's going on. They just know that the invoicing days are, the terms are 60 days, 30 days.
That's what they know.
So you just got to be on the ball. I always say to people, when you book a collab, send the invoice as soon as it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Get the details as soon. Say, can I have the supplier information? Can I have this? As soon as it's confirmed, because then it's not moving hinky. Like the way I chase people after, the way I look at QuickBooks,
I feel like
I put the QuickBooks.
I feel like you're on man's door. Like,
I put the QuickBooks. I'm like, this person's got 3 days, no problem. I'm gonna give you the person 3 days. Yeah. One day, this person's kind of fine. Okay, cool. Yeah. One day over, guys. Can you email?
Yeah, she'll get onto us.
I find it shocking. So you see, in the process of building this into a business, when did you know it was going to be a business? Did you not just know like this was going to be a business, or was it like let's just start this thing and then one day it was like, because this is full time for you, just to confirm, Was it
we went full time last year?
Oh, so
and we started salaries. Did we start salaries last year?
We didn't start full time last year. It was the year before.
Sorry. We started full time.
Oh, we started salaries last year.
We started full time in 2017. But we did
salaries. What was that moment though? What was the moment that allowed you to think, let's go full time?
I was at my job, and I loved my manager and all that. And he's amazing, and he really like pushed me and the people at my workplace. It was a small company in the UK. They're big in Toronto. They pushed me a lot to do things. And then I think it just came to a point where I just wasn't happy anymore. I was just like,
she felt like she got everything out.
Yeah, and I was just waking up late, going to work late all the time. They never used to say anything to me. I think this is shit. Like, I can be, basically, I can.
You need some pressure.
Yeah, my manager was leaving as well. Like he was going back to Toronto, and I was like, this is gonna be rubbish. And then
she just was like, guys, I'm quitting. I'm gonna focus on VAMP.
And
the rest of you lot followed suit.
Yeah, I followed like 4 months later. I really followed 2 months. 2 or 3 months.
What was that process like? Because I know there's so many people that just watch my content and would sit and think they want to do. Oh my god!
Don't quit your job.
Yeah, just quit. I don't know which
why not?
Camera on me. Don't quit your job unless you have savings, or don't do it. There's no point. Just
all right. But let's dig into this one.
Okay, should we?
Because I think there's two sides to it.
Okay.
Yeah? Why?
Let me tell you, the thing is, what I understand about what you're gonna say is,
same.
You need. I tell my friends, I have friends who are running 2 businesses or 3 businesses, and they start something new. I'd be like to them, give that thing 6 months of your attention.
Facts.
And see where it goes.
I agree with that.
If it don't bang, it don't bang. If it's something that you need to be doing, then do it. But don't lock
people romanticize this whole like entrepreneur.
Nowadays, 100%.
Romanticize it too much. Like, I get it. I know it works for some people, but this whole like, let me quit my job and give myself. Give everything into it, but have you really thought about it? Have you planned it? Have you thought about what's going to happen if it doesn't work? Have you got the savings? Like, there's so many elements to it, and I hate that romanticization. Like every.
Do you not think that I'd be? Do you know my credentials? Do you know I could be in a very comfortable pension? We could be in the I could have healthcare.
What?
Pension?
My mum is onto me about pension. My pension's sitting there from 2 years ago. I ain't got no extra pension. So when I retire,
is it worth it?
Oh yeah, it's alright, but
you know.
I mean, we're just in Dubai.
We're here on a Monday night.
On a Monday night, yeah. I mean, ain't that bad. It could have been worse. We ain't got a pension.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
I got time.
100%. So that jump, what was it like? What was the process like? Like, how did you? Because there's so many people that would love to do that. And just to before you even answer that, to go back to what you said, I think. Because I'm so passionate about the topic, people romanticizing entrepreneurship. Like, so many people follow me and just think, my man, owns his businesses, F it, I'm gonna do the same thing. But it's like, no one looks at the process and knows like what there is behind it. Because all we see is CEO in the bio, want to be a business owner. Because now it's like the days when if I wanted to be a footballer or a rapper.
It's the new thing.
Yeah, it's the new thing.
I think it's just so important. If I was, say I was like 18 right now and I wanted to start a business, I'd 100% get myself a nice full-time job and start a business on the side. Imagine how much money you're gonna have.
I think the reason why we can say that, because I agree with you, I think the reason why we can say it is because, well, for me anyway, we did it the harder way. So we know it's like, for me, jumping, because I did that jump. I did that jump of like, fuck this, I'm starting my own business. And a year later, it was like, let's get back on read.co.uk because we've got to get somewhere first. But
you learned it.
I even, like, obviously no one really knows this, but when I first quit my job and I started VAMP, I went to work at Leon. Because it was a very tough time for me and like my family. Yeah. So I went to work at Leon for like 2-3 months.
Okay.
Because I needed the extra money in it. And I remember these.
We weren't making any money. We weren't
making a lot at all.
For how long? Talk about that.
So, these lot used to come and visit me, and they used to work in Leon, remember?
Yeah.
And then it was like,
we had a couple projects, but it was like, when I say it was nothing.
But how we used to split, so this is actually a really good gem. So when we first started the business, obviously we didn't do salaries, because obviously. So what we did was we split the money into 5 ways. So every time we got a project, let's say we charged 5 bags for a project. Anyway, we would have split into 5. So there's 3 owners, so 1 bag each for the owners, 1 bag for the savings account, and then 1 bag for our costs.
Yeah, like expenses.
So split it into 5. So even if it's just 2 founders, you can split it for. But always have a savings account and a cost account for like rent, emails, website,
whatever
everything. Always have a savings account, because when the taxman comes, he's not going to tell you. He's not going to knock on the door and say, "Excuse me,
do you mind?"
He's just going to slap you with a fine.
100%.
Straight. So yeah. So 100%. I would say like So what? Maybe 4 or 5 months before. So when you quit, so he's asking me, when you quit,
maybe how long? What the question?
Yeah, I know. When you quit,
more so just the process of that jump.
Oh.
Yeah.
You
were telling him. So you were telling him to make it work, and
I was telling him to make it work. Obviously, I had family
connections,
issues, so I had to.
But her thing was like, she was going for meetings, and I think I was at work when she said it. She was like, "Okay, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna just see what I could do. See whether we have a business."
Yeah, I was like, we need 1 person, because we all had jobs.
Dedicate.
Yeah, I was like, we need 1 person to go in
and just see. So she was having a meeting, and she's coming back to us, guys. What do you think about this? And like, so then I don't know at what point you felt like it was a business, because even then it wasn't really a business. For me, it wasn't. There've been 2 points I felt like, yes, we have a business. Do you want to do yours since?
I'm thinking.
Okay, you're still thinking.
Okay. I'm very optimistic. So I thought it was a business when we said we would VAMP.
2017 January. We registered as a business.
Once you registered it, that was it.
Right, that was it. Well, for me, there was 2 points. The 2 points I felt were basically we had an event. And I was still at work at this point. Tina basically worked on this event with Smashbox, which is a makeup company, and Girls Talk London. And basically it was a makeup masterclass with the girl that we managed at the time. And we invited some YouTubers, we invited some black YouTubers. And at the end of the event, we were talking to everyone. And loads of the girls were like, "This is the first event I've ever been to." And we were like, what?
Big YouTubers.
We were like girls that have been on for like a year or 2, engagement, mad. So we were like, how is that possible? And then we realised, wait, the reason Mariam goes to all these events is because we are actively putting her on these PR lists.
Yeah.
Like, we're emailing brands and saying, "Hi, this is like, we manage Mariam Musa, she's a YouTuber, blah, blah, blah." And we realised these girls don't have that. So these brands are literally blind to this huge roster of talent. Yeah. And so that was my moment of, this is what we need to do. So this is a business, because there is no other business that is doing this. There is a market that we can fill and fulfill. So that was my number 1 moment. And then the second moment I realised we had a really good business was after Girls Trip. We had the maddest YouTubers and the maddest content creators come to that event. Like,
I'll never forget Colleen Nolan.
Was that just based on you reaching out to them?
Yeah, and like by then, like we were starting to build people. We had Mariam, so it's all about engagement. We had the VAMP Instagram page.
There was people walking into that room, and I was like,
So you see with Mariam, you said you started with her from scratch, literally.
Yeah.
So you've obviously helped her build. So at that stage, where was she like in regards?
By then, she was still maybe like 30K.
Oh, for real?
Like she was.
Ain't that like a year ago?
No, it was like 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about 3 years ago. She was on like under 100. She had more on YouTube than she had on Instagram at that point. Like, it was, YouTube was the thing back then before Instagram. So yeah, she was pretty big, and we had our Instagram page, so we would like engage with other YouTubers, like we would follow all the big YouTubers, so we had a relationship with them to an extent, and they knew that we managed Mariam, so I think there was a small connection, but most of them we just reached out, and like it's from the very early on when we do our events, we always try to make it seem like it's good. It's not just your everyday brand event, because they get really boring. Even at that time, like people were going to events and it was just boring, so we wanted to make sure it was fun.
Everything's experience.
Exactly. Yeah. So that event in particular, we marketed it as like a proper girls' night out, like it's a summer girls' night out. So we had goodie bags. Like our goodie bag was one of the best goodie bags, even to this day, it was one of the best. And we marketed it that night. We had people do nails. Like back then, that was like unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, we just don't do things like that. So that after that event, with the YouTubers we had and the content creators we had, and when we did our coverage report for Universal, I was like, yeah, this is lit. This is us.
Actually, do you know what? Okay,
what's your point? Go on.
You realised when you realised.
When I realised was when
10 minutes later.
It's like, go, because you said coverage report.
Glad you're right.
Go on. Was when we doubled box office. So basically, Girls Trip was predicted a certain number. Yeah.
Oh,
and
shit.
To earn on the first weekend.
Yeah. And we doubled it basically.
Sick.
And basically the reason we take credit for it is because
I'm taking all the credit.
No, I only found out about that film through you lot.
Fine. So the reason
Facts.
Thank you.
No, big facts, 100%. No, I'm not even saying it.
The reason why I'm not reacting is because Tristan's already gassed me enough.
Is
No, I swear to you, I didn't know about the film.
Well, that was what we did our job then. We did our job.
Fact.
The reason we take some credit for it is because when we came in, they had no marketing plan at that point. They didn't know what they were going to do with the film.
So they didn't even think.
They hadn't worked out yet. They hadn't worked out yet. It was unfortunately, it was on the back.
Did you watch, you know, Straight Out of Compton?
Yeah.
Did you watch that in the cinema?
Yes.
Why did you watch it in the cinema? What made you want to watch it? Was it British marketing?
Was it marketing or just because it's
American?
Just being a hip hop fan.
Right. Exactly, and it was more American.
But you know what, you're right, there wasn't a lot of coverage of that.
Yeah.
To be fair, I can name a couple films that I always think, how come we didn't know about that?
Exactly.
Like, there's a couple.
But that's the point. Like, people don't realize the process that goes into like the acquisition of films and why they decide whether it's going to come to a UK market or not. Like, I can count how many films before Girls Trip came out that had an all black cast. This is like 4.
So is that why it's such a big deal when things like Blue Story get the worldwide
distribution? 100%, because
Yeah.
there's been a massive shift. Like, Girls Trip was the first shift actually of a film with a black lead, black director, mainly black cast doing as well as it did. That like when you read the articles and you do the numbers, Girls Trip was actually like almost like the blueprint. From there, studios were accepting films with black cast.
That's true, but Black Panther came out. And obviously Black Panther was being shot.
Oh yeah, it's already being filmed, yeah. But
so that was like, you know, the seasoning. That just added to the litmus.
It did, exactly.
So,
it added to it. But then I guess on the flip side of that, obviously Black Panther was a Marvel film. It was always going to do well. Yeah. And they'd already invested it. It was probably more of a risky investment for them to create that film. Even though we all knew it was going to do well. But from their perspective, and same with Girls Trip, we knew it was going to do well. Like, we were like, what? Look at the cast. You got Queen Latifah.
Sometimes it's just about people knowing about it more than anything else.
And that's exactly why we are VAMP.
What we do.
It's important that black British people know what's going on. I find it so mad that these companies are not
take on a project for a specific audience or featuring mainly a specific audience, and you're not marketing.
Why do you think that is? You think it's a lack of care?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of care, because you know what it is, like sometimes when you know how to do something, you stick to just doing that. So it's like we make millions, and with the people that we market already.
So why would we
need to bother? But it's like you could make more, and also you could be a bit more relevant. Like Foot Asylum is. I really want to write a blog post about Foot Asylum, because when I was young, Foot Asylum, who was Foot Asylum? Foot Asylum was always there, always there, but it was never lit ever. But when they got Chunks and Philly on that. Every time it's about being relevant.
I think something as well that's so important right now, and what I love even with people like Chunks and Philly's journey, is we have the power in it. Like these brands need us, or they're not cool. They're actually not.
They realise they love us. They think we're well cool.
Yeah. But they love us to their benefit and sometimes our detriment, which is why I like the way that you lot work. What has been like some of the difficult sides of this? Like, and I don't necessarily mean with the business, but even like with working with influencers, getting people on and off. Like, give me like a horror story without exposing anyone.
I think we've signed a few people and it hasn't worked out.
Yeah, it's true.
Think that's definitely been.
Why has that been?
I think it probably goes back to like this family element. Like, the vibe needs to be there. Like, you need to be a certain kind of person. Like, all our girls are very different, but they're all nice girls. They're all polite. They all know how to behave. Like, there's certain things that you'll see quickly on them, which is again why we can't just sign anyone. Because we don't know their character. Like, we don't know.
Character's very, very important.
So important.
We'll be going on brand trips to different countries.
And then the brands will be saying, what's wrong with blah blah blah. They're moving mad.
They'll look like Joe Madness on the trip.
And then they'll come and tell us.
They'll come and tell us after. We don't.
Character is really important. Like, all our girls will I can vouch for all of them. Like, I know that if I send them somewhere, I don't have to worry about how they're gonna behave. They're all brought up well, nice girls, and that's really important to us. So we've had some. It hasn't worked out, and that's fine. And I think it's all part of the journey, because it's made it more important for us to work out who we want and why they want that person. Horror stories.
Oh, Mariam.
Oh, should we say it? Okay, go on.
You have to now.
Okay, basically, so Mariam went on a show.
Okay.
She went on, is that
reality TV show.
Yeah, she went on a reality TV show called Survival of the Fittest, which was on ITV2. It was produced by the same producers of Love Island. So it was like an alternative, like non-love version of Love Island.
Winter, basically.
But yeah, winter Love Island. Shot in South Africa, but it was on like boys versus girls. She was on this show. She did really well. She was part of the winning team. She came out, And when you go on these shows, they gas you. The ITV or the producers, they'll gas you and say,
not even just ITV, like we've
any show, true.
Any reality TV show, when you're on that show,
the producers will gas you up and
in
say,
the sense of what?
So, this is how you get out, this is what's gonna happen.
I've heard this about Love and Hip Hop, dude. I've heard this.
And you know what they do as well? They have their connections with people who are managing companies, and they say go to this person,
go to this person. They'll give them a list.
And they'll be their friend. That'll be their friends. But that's the game in general. I always think that kind of nepotism kind of thing. Yes, but if I had friends who had things, I'd plug them as well.
So they literally give them a list. Like you need a reality agency. Like you need someone because your life's gonna change. Like they'll tell them all of this, right? So
proper dream stuff.
Their selling is fantastic. So Mariam basically came out of the show. Obviously we've been managing her for years. We managed her account while she was on the show. Like we did all of that. We came out. We started basically building what we wanted her to be and what we thought she could be in terms of an influencer, because reality was never part of her journey, or was never supposed to be part of her journey, but at the time it made sense. But her coming out, we weren't thinking, oh, you're going to become a reality star. That was not the intention. So we thought, we were planning
to jump, but what was the intention?
So we were hoping to use like the influence, and like she did really well on the show.
Like Molly May, basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's essentially what we were going to try and do.
Exactly, because Molly May was already an influencer, she was already a YouTuber, she already had an audience. So like with Maz, when she went on the show, she already had like 60k on Instagram and like, I don't know, up nearly, I think 92 on YouTube. So she was pretty big back then anyways. And so the hope was, she did really well on the show. People loved her personality. Like she got into a relationship on the show. Like she had certain attributes that we were like, let's focus on that. Like people love your personality, so we're gonna keep you as a YouTuber, keep you as an influencer, but
so we capitalize
on the reach and like the audience, the new audience that she brought.
So we basically, obviously Rumby's head of influencer, so obviously she came up with a plan. We got quite a lot of brand deals for her when she got out and stuff. She got to about 250k.
So we helped her really grow.
And then I think once she got off the show, obviously they gassed her a lot, and we're gonna have this big meeting with her, like, we got you this week,
like all the things
this amount of money, like blah blah. She was like, I'm leaving you guys.
Who?
It wasn't like that. Don't say it like that.
Who?
That's alright.
She left. She left us.
Yeah, she left us.
And she came back?
Yeah, she came back.
Is it?
Yeah, she left for a bit. Because they gassed her, she
thought.
They
made her think she was getting the Sony contract. She was getting
you know
mad deals.
In her defense, obviously, we're not a reality TV
exactly.
agency.
So I completely got it to an extent.
They told her you are a reality TV star.
Be honest, be honest.
Oh yeah.
How did you lot feel?
I cried.
Yeah, Tina cried.
I cried.
Tina cried. I was fuming. So
I cried.
I was crying.
Because you know why I cried?
Because that was your first start, like that's your baby.
Because imagine your child being like, I don't want to leave.
I don't want to be my mummy anymore.
That's just how it felt, kind of.
Yeah, so we were upset, but we were upset because there's a loyalty thing, blah blah blah. But after a while, especially when she came back, we got it because we
got it.
We have to hold our hands up. We don't know nothing about reality TV. We would have just been.
So that was the so basically she was trying to head. She started to realize that she wanted to do that angle.
She thought
she wanted to do that angle. Yeah.
And and it seemed like all the others on the show have reality TV agencies.
She was surrounded by it.
I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to fall behind. Blah 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 blah. So she left for a bit and.
Then she realised that the game is the game.
The game is the game. She's
a black woman.
Thank you. That's what I was about to say. The other thing to consider is she is a black.
Alright, so you see this comment, yeah?
Go on.
Because you lot are the perfect people for me to say this to, because I've always wanted to have this conversation. Yeah? I definitely agree, because I know that it is much more difficult, 100%. But number one, how do you think we can change that narrative? And number two, do you think we do enough? Doing versus complaining. Now, because it's a very common conversation. And I think some people, don't get me wrong, I kind of know what you lot do, but there's a lot of other people that may just talk about this and it's just cool to speak about it. It's actually, it becomes that kind of thing. And I might get even killed for saying that because like, you don't know the struggle. Totally understand that. I do actually know the struggle, but give me an
so answer your second question first, whether it's doing versus complaining. There's so many elements to it. Like, I feel like we all complain about it because it's a problem, but we work hard. Especially our girls, we'll be the first person to show you how hard they work for, as what Nella said, there's a cap. Imagine working your butt off 120% to get 70% back. Like, it's painful, and I really, really feel for them. But I think it's a flippant statement that people make, but there's different elements to it. So like, for Mariam, for example, when we say it, it's because you have a white agency that don't understand you and your brand or the brand that you want to create, and also the struggle, the genuine, and like, when we say struggle, I mean like the everyday problems or the everyday issues you might have as a black person, or especially a black woman. So perfect example is a brand emailed them, Mariam's management at the time, and they were a massive hair company, like especially back then, like they were the go-to hair company. Like when you want wigs, they were up there, like high quality American, like proper up there. They turned it down, and Mariam was fuming because she'd been wanting to work with this brand for ages, and they turned it down because they didn't know. They didn't understand. They didn't understand. They're not going to understand. And it's a simple thing. So that's why, and so maybe then to go back to your first question about how we tackle it, it's about having the right people around you. It doesn't matter because we know. Like, so Mariam will never have to worry because, or any of our girls will never have to worry because, especially because there's 3 of us, we're all different kinds of black women. And that's the one thing we always try to push with brands, that you can't just have one black person representing the whole of the black community. It's impossible and it's not fair because we're 3 of us are so different. Like, we all grew up different. We grew up, Ruby grew up, she didn't grow up in London, Tina grew up in East London. We're all from different countries, we're completely different, but for our girls we understand each of them to an extent.
And when we say the struggle for black people, like, because we're saying, oh, she went there and obviously didn't work out for her because she's a black woman, not only
that's not the only thing,
and it's like not only what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, like, you know when you gave the example of them not knowing that it was a black hair company, that's not us saying that nobody was racist in that.
It's almost impossible because you can't relate.
Exactly. So it's not just about people being prejudiced, racist, all that.
It's not always got malice intention.
100%. It's an experience thing. And I think then the problem is with some of these agencies is they take on these influences with good intention. They're trying to be more diverse. They're trying to create more opportunity, which is great. But are you got to do the work to support that person? Because what we also find, and like I think Mariam saw, and a lot of the girls who come to us who've come from other agencies, they'll say is they don't. So a lot of the girls, they'll manage themselves for a period of time, then they'll go to an agency, and what they say is there's no difference in the amount of work they're getting. There's no difference. Like, they're like, I could have done this myself. What's the real difference? And it's because a lot of these agencies aren't actively pitching out. They're not used to actually having to do work.
They're just answering emails.
You're glorified PA basically, and they just have a big name. So luckily
they don't
for them,
bring anything extra to the table.
Exactly. Luckily for them, the brands, because they're a big name, the brands will come to them, so they don't have to do much. So from the black influencer point of view, they're not even really doing maybe collabs that they really want to do. It's just collabs that have just come through naturally. And so I think that's what's really important. Like, we actively pitch out the girls every single day. So like every brand you can imagine, we've hollered at.
And even if someone wants Nella, we'll be like, how
if it's not right for Nella, we'll go, like, because at the end of the day we want to make sure that they're not just, we've tried and then that's it. Make sure you're really
I think a lot of these agencies don't have the personal aspect, because like the things you're saying we do naturally and it's important to us, but I think it's because like my setup's the same. It's like we've got Jimbo, that's my actual friend. We've got Yasmin Diaz, that's my actual friend. And it's like I have a genuine passion towards seeing it. I think that's the problem with a lot of these agencies. You've got a roster of 100 girls, you've got a company of 100 people. Like, there's just no actual real attachment.
There isn't. They're just like a name on a list. And again, going back to that, we've seen that with not just white agencies. We actually see there's loads of black agencies that pop up, which is great. But there needs to be an understanding of like the work that goes into it, and like that person can't just take anyone on and just, that's their life. That's the thing. Like, especially if someone's a full-time influencer or wants to be, you're taking on their life. Like, that's a very big thing to take on. So you need to know that what you're dealing with that, and so that's what we really struggle with. We've had so many people come back with horror stories about agencies that have just been terrible because they just don't care. Most of them just don't. They don't mean to be horrible. They just don't. There's no care, and that's probably a good thing and a bad thing about us is we care there. We care a lot about girls. So 100%, I care there like too much. But all of us, like, there are girls like we really, really want them to win, and we're gonna do everything literally within our power to make sure they win. And you mentioned something earlier about making sure that everyone has like something else going on. Like, that's one of the criteria that we're going to have as part of the talent agency is you need to have something else going on. Like, you need to have a long-term plan, something that you want to work on, and we can help you build. If you don't have that, you've got to start thinking, come back later when you've thought of it, and we can help you build. It's not like, oh, you have to do it on your own. Like, we want to help you. So like all the girls have something going on. Like Nella, for example, she's got representing. She's got this is her t-shirt company. Mariam obviously had the collection. Like, we're hopefully
which was huge. We're not going to skip.
Oh, yeah, talking about it.
That was.
Mariam was the first black female influencer in the UK to have a collection with a fast fashion.
And I think we should address that as well, because I think
elaborate on that as well, because I had to ask someone to explain to me why that was so big. So I'm not sure there's so many people that don't understand.
Tell them why. So I'll say we had to address that because we had quite a lot of people say, oh, she's not the first black female to have her line, but she's not a reality TV star.
Exactly.
She's an influencer.
So that's why it's big.
So you have Amber Rose.
Amber Rose Gill.
Amber Rose Gill. Amber. People just call it Amber.
Yeah.
When I said Amber Rose, it made me think of Amber Rose. Anyway, Amber, she had a line obviously with Miss Pat.
Okay.
But she's a reality TV star. She's not an influencer.
Yeah.
She's gonna turn into.
Do you know what?
Exactly.
What is that? What is an influencer?
Right, so I mean, it's
an influential person.
Because I think this word has become so 100%.
Like... It's an influential person.
In the press release, I had to put a little asterisk. Because I wanted to make sure it's very clear, like, as Tina was about to say, Amber is probably going to turn into an influencer.
So when do we class it?
Because it's like, right now she's a reality TV star, and like all the newspapers, like everyone will refer to her. She'll still be on TV. She's still the winner of Love Island.
It's hard.
There's been no other winner since her. So she's still the reality TV star, but...
Oh wait, no, was there not?
But do you know what I'm saying? The lines are blurred.
Whoever it was.
Oh, that's so rude, isn't it?
Did you miss the...
Finn someone.
Finn the girl. What's her name?
No, we're talking about Love Island, isn't it?
The last Love Island winner. Anyways, but yeah, so there's different... like, the definition of influencer is very, very broad, but there's other elements you have to think about, like, are they influencing people on multiple social platforms as well?
Good, so I'm going to stop you there, because what I was actually going to go on to is, like, shortcutting it, because I don't want to, obviously, be here for ages, but a lot of people now want to be an influencer. Yeah. It's from school now.
Yeah,
like, literally, like, it is that, And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think this whole narrative of, like, one thing that I've become so passionate about the last 6 months, and it's just because of the passion I have for probably helping Yasmin build, is the disrespect towards influencers. Like the disregard towards what the craft
what
is.
they do,
just the narrative of just especially on these
take pictures.
Yeah, especially on these think of a nice way to say it. Blogs.
Blogs.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say some type of blog. But yeah, blogs. Yeah, there's like a common narrative in comment sections, etc., which I don't agree with, because from a business point of view, which is how I see most things, I know how much effort is put in. Like, I know, like, you lot are building your whole careers off of this. So if I'm 19, 18 and I'm in school, and let's say a female for this point of view, and I want to be an influencer, like I've said, I want to be an influencer, what are the main 3 things you're saying to me?
My question is why, firstly. What is the reason? What is the reason? What do you think really goes into it? Like, what's your end goal? Because I think it's fine to say you want to be an influencer, but I don't want anyone to come and say they just want to sit at home and make YouTube videos. I don't like that. That's what I don't want us to be teaching our kids that at all, because there's a big gap in understanding what goes into being a YouTuber, or what goes into being a content creator or influencer. How hard it is. Like, oh my God, we were just with Mariam and Nella just now, and we were saying that we should swap with them for the day. And they should manage
content.
Wouldn't it be really funny? We were saying we should talk with them today so they can see. We know it and we see it and we sympathise and we empathise every day, but we will never really understand.
Yeah, and also think about it. How easy would it be for us to turn ourselves into influencers?
Of course.
Not to
we have all the knowledge.
Because we have all the knowledge, like obviously businesswomen and that, but we know how hard it is.
Yeah.
So we prefer, like,
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
I'm not.
I couldn't do it. I personally couldn't do it.
Because it's quite lonely, you know.
Yeah.
It's very lonely. Like, imagine recording something alone in your room.
Yeah.
And editing
for 6-7 hours. So that's why I'd have to ask the question why. Because you need to understand, like, why. Is it because you love editing, you love that industry, you love production, you love the satisfaction of creating really great content and people enjoying it?
That's so true.
What's the reason?
You know, Mariam is the most, like, out of everyone I've met, she seems like she loves it the most. Like, she seems like she actually loves what she does. Like,
Mariam is an influencer. Like, she is like, she's a content creator. Like, and that's her in real life. Mariam is like,
the character.
You can see it.
There's people like Annie Drea.
Annie Drea is
Annie Drea, she is a videographer. Like, she is
an
editor. That's her.
I think of an editor before influencer.
Yeah, and that's why her videos are amazing.
She takes hours to edit, and she literally will. If she has if the vision isn't there, she'll stop for a day or two and then come back to it.
Yeah.
She'll, because that's how important it. Exactly, there's levels. So that's what my first question would be, why. And if there's not a genuine reason to it, go back to the drawing board and find another profession, or do it on the side. Do it on if it's like do it on the side. Why does it need to be your full time? Like it's like me saying that I want to become like a stylist because I like clothes. Like
it's not enough.
It doesn't make any sense. So so personally,
and also in terms of being an influencer, do you influence people or are people just preying you?
Exactly. Like if it's like 18-year-olds, if they're young, say it's like 15-year-old, and they can see it, like they're at school and like they dress well or they do certain things, and they're literally influencing the whole year group, and they can clock it from them. Fair enough. Then yes, go for it.
You got the personality.
You got the personality, then and you got the work ethic. That's the other thing. The time, you're gonna wake up early, you're gonna spend, as Tina said, your whole day inside.
Do you like the attention?
The attention.
The attention thing is something I think people don't consider. Some people actually like attention, which is fine, but some influencers actually do not like public attention.
Which makes it difficult.
Yeah, they like attention online. You know, some people on Twitter, they love the online, but when they see real life, they walk past you.
Like that. Yeah.
So it's like you love your online digital attention, but in real life, when someone comes to say hello to you, you're like, be real rude to them.
Which I've seen many times.
Trust me.
Same.
So that's what we asked for.
That's good. Like that's what you lot just did there. Do you know why I think it's so important? Because those aren't things all people are seeing right now. I want to be an influencer. I want a blue tick and I want clothes.
I want a blue tick. I want the free clothes.
Like, honestly, I genuinely think that's where it is.
Free clothes are nice though.
It's nice, but
free meals. Free meals are nice.
Well, but that's the thing. But I don't know. It's just it's such a weird good thing because we're in the industry, but it does really bother me. Yeah. But I think, as I said, if you have a passion for it, then sure. And like, all our girls do, like they know their audience. That's everything. Like it's an actual profession. Like it's still very new, and we're still finding out loads of things. But are you doing the work? Are you going to work out what your engagement's like? Are you going to work out what your audience like to see? Like, are you going to put in the work? And I think that goes back to something I want to say earlier, which hopefully will end ask the question that people ask us around this. Like when people ask us, "Oh, I want to help grow my following," have you done your Googles? Because do you know how much information is on Google right now if you want to become an influencer?
100%. On YouTube. You literally go on YouTube,
Are you mad? Like,
that's true.
Why come to us with something that you think that we can actually help with or support with?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to offer? Because that's the thing, they're coming to us, what do you have to offer? And I think that frustrates me.
And obviously it might seem like we're being quite,
No, but I think it's an industry, it's a business. Like at the end of the day, and I think something you said that's so important is it is still so newly developed. Yeah. So there's still rules being developed or trends being developed now. Like how this is now in the next 2-3 years could change drastically.
100%.
I think that's something that's interesting.
It's true, and I think I just wish people would consider with anything. I always try to think of it in different industries or different things. Like football, for example. Yeah. No young boy is gonna say, I want to become a footballer and go to the football club and say, I want to make me a footballer. No one there's an understanding from a young age of the process it takes to become a professional footballer. Yeah. You know that you have to be good.
That's why I think people like you got kind of responsibility because no one else is there to actually, where do I go on? You can't go on Google, I don't think, anyway, you probably nowadays can, and do like job description, influencer, and what's required, and skills required.
I mean, there is now, definitely. There is, 100%, without doubt. There must be, without doubt.
Obviously, no one's hiring.
No one's hiring yet, so it's not a hiring description. But there are places to work out what it takes. So like the same way we just had this conversation, I know there'll be blog posts of someone writing it down. So it is, but I just said it is new. But so over time, the hope is that in 10 years, hopefully less than that. But over years time, it's a lot clearer. So yes, again, like football or whatever profession, it's very clear what the steps are. So it's not something you can just say on a whim. But
so what's the next step? Where are we trying to take this next 2-3 years?
Well, we just got office. So
we just got an office.
Congrats on the office.
Thank you.
Want to deck that out?
Yeah, and I think because of that's motivated us to do more. So we're looking to go into certain media fields that we're gonna push and grow in the talent network.
That's a massive thing.
We work with a lot of movie studios, so we're gonna try and push ourselves a bit more in there.
And we started doing TV as well, and we've really enjoyed that. So we're mainly doing films, but we started doing TV, and then we're just about to start doing...
Let's explain that a bit more, because...
what do you mean by doing TV?
We mainly worked on movie premieres, PR with movies, influence activations for the launch of movies.
And we work on movies that have a black lead.
So that tends to be the main thing that we do, but we'd only worked on one TV release over the past couple of years, but in recent months we worked on Noughts and Crosses when that came out, so we worked on the PR campaign for that. So we set up interviews with the cast with like black
and I think the reason why that's very important was because when we did Girls Trip, what was so important was giving people access to Jada and give people access to Regina. Queen Latifah can come.
You want to see black faces interviewing.
Yeah, because you got to think like the only place you'll see these interviews are like the Cosmopolitan.
And
always in that room, we'll see the type of people that were in there, and we were like, what are you going to talk about that's going to be fun? Like, I'm not going to read it because I don't feel like
that's not going to be entertaining. Exactly.
So like when we did Black Panther, we gave people access to, you know, Ryan Coogler, who was the
director, and we gave
and Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P.
So like that was so important. That's working on that campaign, especially considering what's happened. It was so monumental because it's so. It happens now, like even without us, the studios have clocked on. They need to have black faces interviewing black talent, but that was never considered before.
Even just black platforms as well, like link up. We got link up interviews.
Yeah, we'll get all the black platforms you can imagine
when they were doing that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So like, and what's something we try to push is having black journalists that work at some of these bigger publications as well.
Because we'd pitch and we'd be like, we've got someone at Vogue or whatever, or Cosmopolitan, and they're like, we've got someone already. And we're like, no,
we've got
a black woman or black man who knows how to speak culturally.
Because you wouldn't believe when we'll hear feedback from either the journalists or sometimes the talent themselves, and they'll say how relieved and how relaxed the talent are when they're being interviewed by other black people.
Yeah.
Because imagine you've got 7-8 hour days.
And
same thing. With the same questions.
100%.
The same vibe as well. So when you see a black person come in, I've seen it happen so many times, and like we've really struggled over the years, like even getting approval for things, because they're like, we haven't worked with them before, blah blah blah. But boy, after we have 1 or 2 people that have done really well, or one publication that's done really well, the studio
they literally trust us.
They trust.
They're like literally.
The publicist is like, oh my god. We help lift the talent's spirits for the rest of the day. They should. I was saying this the other day. I was on another podcast, and I was saying how the studio should use us to help elevate and like lift the spirits of the talent in the middle of the day, because they get so drained towards the
end. I don't think anyone's in touch with
back interviews.
100%. Yeah, I've seen it, and I don't think these companies really like. They don't take time to think anything further than just stats and figures.
They don't exactly, and it's about like working. The value of us, or value of the work we do in terms of like bringing in the audience, that's what they're forgetting. So like, you guys can do your usual traditional marketing campaigns to reach that audience, but if you're trying to reach the black audience and you say you put a percentage of it, like that is 20% of our target market and we need to hit it. That is, if we can hit that whole 20% and you guys are trying to hit the rest of the 80%, you don't even know that you can, but we know we can hit 18 of that 20%. What is the value of that? That is a lot.
Facts.
It is a lot, and I think that's what they're forgetting, like the value of our small little audience.
You've doubled down on your niche. Like you've mastered your, like in the process of obviously taking it to other levels, but you've mastered your niche, and I feel like any company that works with you would see the value just based on your portfolio.
Well, we still find some corners.
But they're not awake yet.
No. What? Today, even.
Yeah,
don't give me vexed. And this is a company we've worked with before as well. So
I think a lot of these companies always try it though.
They are trying.
We turn down things. We turn down big.
I've seen companies like offer something, pay something, and then the next job try and bring it down. It's like no.
I think people in the industry now, people know us now, and it's like we are not cheap at all. Yeah. Especially when we do PR for movies, that stuff, we're not cheap with it, because we know how much they're paying the other agencies, but we know how much they're paying the other agencies, their boys, we know how much you're not paying them. So then
your friend that works there.
Because we're 3 black girls, I walked into the room, you think, they
do, it's so mad. So like, even so, that's the other thing, like, just because we've been around for, we're 3.5 years, we've passed 3.5 years now, we still struggle now. We still struggle, even with the portfolio you're saying. Unfortunately, we still do struggle, and it's not a problem because it is what it is, and we'll get to a point where it's not even a conversation. But not that I'm happy to have these conversations with them, but I like it because it keeps me like, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Because the fact that I'm even having to explain the value of it and explain why we deserve this amount is the reason why we're doing what we're doing. And it goes back into the stuff we do with the girls, with the influencers. Like the fact that we have to explain their value, like someone like Nella. Her engagement is one of the best engagements of any YouTuber influencer in the UK. Black, white, Asian, whatever. But we still have to explain it to brands.
It's mad, isn't it? I feel like that's just where it should be left. Like, now I'm joking. Now listen, honestly, I appreciate you guys coming on. Reason being, there's just so much value that I think there. That's why I didn't even really like talk too much. Like usually I'm chatting off, and but nah, like I just feel like there's so much value that people could take from that, and I think there needs to be a lot of clarity shown on such an industry that realistically 5 years ago didn't exist to this extent because it's so new. So thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
It has been a pleasure.
Fantastic apartment overlooking Dubai.
It's not bad, isn't it?
It's not bad at all.
Thank you for everything. It's been a good trip as well.
Yeah, we had a nice phone party.
Yeah.
Word. We can throw some content in there. MPZ behind the camera. Make sure you follow up. Both of you tell them your Instas.
Oh gosh.
VAMP UK.
Yeah, that's it.
But no personals. Just so you lot are aware, Christina's the reason why I have a personal brand, basically. And it's like my claim to fame. So when Christina blows, like I'm gonna be like, yo.
Yeah, I'm there.
Christina sat there one day and was just like, you need people to know more about you. You're just not like, you can't just show them nice things and think. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't want to show them. I was like proper roadman mode. Like, I don't want to show them this and I don't want to show them that. And she was like, they don't know anything about how you've done anything. Like, what's your career been? And then I remember I was just thinking, nah man, fuck that. And then like about 2 months later, I was like,
actually,
fuck it, you're right. And
You posted something and it did really well, and you were like, wow.
Yeah.
Then you posted like a throwback video of you doing an interview.
Yeah.
And it did really well, and you were like, wow. You needed that to show
and now look, the whole life is just there. But now, thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate having you. That is another episode of Brand Podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Done all the time.